Wall of Sound TV, we're at Knotfest Australia, and normally we like to catch up the punters and the bands, but we've got three very special guests here who are the brains, the masterminds behind this even coming to Australia. I'm horrible with names, so we'll get them to introduce themselves. Chris O'Brien, obviously.
Corey Brennan.
Tim McGregor.
All right, so for having Knotfest come to Australia, this is something that's been in the works for how long, would you say?
I mean, at least 7 or 8 years that I've had conversations about it, but it wasn't until probably 3 years ago, right before COVID, that I talked to Tim and talked to Chris, and it became a reality.
Yeah.
COVID held it back a couple years, but you know, we all strategized and talked for a long time and how to find the right time and the right space, and when we thought bands would be available.
Yep. And
it worked out on the dates that we're looking at now, and it feels great.
So to have Slipknot essentially orchestrating this festival itself, picking the bands, do they rely on you guys, for example, Australian bands that you can put forth, or is it all them strategizing and saying, we want Alpha Wolf, we want Void of Vision, we want North Lane kind of situation?
I'll let Chris take that. I mean, Chris is intimately involved as well. I mean, Slipknot put the final stamp on everything.
Yep.
You know, it's important to them to curate an experience that they want to be at.
Yep.
And they want their fans to be at. But really, without Chris O'Brien, his guidance on that, it wouldn't be possible.
Look, I think for us it was being acutely aware of how protective they are of their global brand, which they absolutely should be. So, but what works for them in other territories doesn't necessarily work here.
Yep.
So it was more about what can work in this territory, what will the band like as well, what will Corey like, so we're not going through too many back and forths. Yep. So it was pretty seamless, to be honest, in the end. It was pretty easy. Obviously convincing Parkway Drive to do it was quite easy as well. Yep. Getting bands like Spirit Box out for their first ever tour and Bad Omens. So it's really important for us to have some pretty cool bucket list moments like Megadeth and the fans weren't necessarily expecting.
Yeah, to be honest, when that poster dropped, it was like, is this a dream? Is this really happening?
Yeah.
All of these caliber of bands in one location.
So you sort of have to put your mind, in the mind of a fan, to be honest.
Yep.
So, you've got to picture yourself thinking, would I be excited by this?
Yep.
As a punter? And you sort of keep coming back to it every day and every week and every month. And then when you're finally really excited about it and passionate about it, well, then you've convinced yourself that everyone else will be. So. And
talking about the reactions we've seen so far, I mean, 30,000 people through the gates, like completely sold out tour. Was this in your mind that this would actually happen, or were you like, oh, maybe it might, maybe not?
No, I mean, to be honest, we're absolutely delighted, but we thought we may need to build it for a few years, and start a little bit more conservatively and see it, but it just popped completely, and the programming's been brilliant, the timing's been brilliant. I think there's a real sense too, people coming out of COVID, having those collective shared festival experiences, they're back, and it's just fantastic to see the way that it's just exploded. So.
It's the amazing camaraderie of the heavy music scene, not just here in Australia, but the fans that have flown from New Zealand, from Japan, all the way over to be part of this kind of thing. And, growing up working in commercial radio, this heavy music was something that I would always try and push on our music directors. There is a massive scene here, there's a massive following, but they still consider it niche. Did you overcome any obstacles with trying to get this out to the public, or was the heavy music scene just really receptive and jumped on board?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we've been doing this for quite a while now, as you know, and we were really confident that the market response would be super solid. As Tim said, there probably wasn't an expectation that it would fly out as quickly as it did, but I think they were going back to conversations I had with Corey back in LA years ago, which was more about timing and not rushing the brand into the market. We'll make decisions as a team as when we think it's ready and when we think the market's ready for it, because that's really important. I mean, history's shown us that other brands have come into the market at the wrong times and just expected to do well. It just doesn't work that way. There's just it's a lot more thought process that goes into it, and the hardest thing for us to be is patient, to be honest, because you sort of want to get on with it as quickly as you can, but I think this has probably proven that the patience has worked for us.
And like you're saying, you've been working on this for 7 years. You can't exactly come out of the woodworks and go, here's a festival, everyone come to it kind of thing. You've got to bleed it in and obviously suss out the market and if people want to actually be a part of this kind of festival.
100%, but when you've got Slipknot, one of the greatest metal bands of all time.
Let's call a
spade a spade. It makes your job a little bit easier.
And it's something that it's a big place in our heart for Australia.
Yeah.
Australia's meant a lot to them. On the first record, they came over to Australia and did some of the most insane shows they've ever done.
Brutal,
And that means the audience and the band.
Yeah.
And whether it was an in-store, a show, an interview, it was just all over the top.
Yeah.
And they played Big Day Out. They played Soundwave. There's amazing festivals. And they had a great time and met so many great people from this country that Australia's been on our bucket list for a long time to do a Knotfest. And it just really took meeting the right partners or talking to the right partners at the right time and getting a great lineup together. So, I mean, it's great for the guys. I mean, the guys in Slipknot, for them to come down here and play with Parkway Drive, who they're fans of, Megadeth, who they're definitely friends and fans of, and all the other great bands, it's pretty amazing. So,
it's a no-brainer. Like, why would you not do it? Why wouldn't you have done it sooner? But obviously, going back to the 7-year planning and making it work. Anything else to contribute, Tim?
No, I just say, look, getting the formula right is so important. This partnership has been absolutely fantastic, and it has had the challenges through COVID of us wanting to get on and get it going, and you know, making sure the programming was spot on, making sure the venue setup, the venue selection, how everything's done, the ticketing, everything. If the punters had any idea just how much goes on behind the scenes,
this is what they need to realise.
All the challenge we've got. I mean, and that's for us, right? But we just want to make sure it's a fantastic experience for them, and we're so pleased we've been able to deliver it so successfully right off the bat. And that's what we wanted to do with Corey. Great working with Chris and his team. It's a really good partnership.
Well, all the maggots out there are really enjoying themselves. Like, honestly, the people decked out in costumes and the jumpsuits. It's insanity to think we're in Brisbane. It's 26 degrees and boiling. I'm sweating profusely, as you can probably tell. This obviously begs the question, with the success that we've had so far, will we see future reiterations coming back?
Certainly hope so. I got to get together with both of these gentlemen right here. I mean,
nice deflection, Corey.
I know from the Knotfest side, it's a way of life. Slipknot created Knotfest. It's a culture. It's bigger than just bands on stage. It's a community. And I feel, on the business side, being next to these two gentlemen who understand that and have passion for the community, it's not just a business opportunity. This is important. This is life. It's the music I listen to. It's the music they listen to. So it means a lot. So hell yeah.
It's going to change lives, honestly. It will. The amount of people coming today to relive their youth or bring their kids along is just mind-blowing in itself. And the fact that we get to do it here in Brisbane and up the East Coast is a beautiful thing, all because of you guys getting together. So from the fans, from Wall of Sound, from everyone who's involved, thank you so much for putting this together. Before we go, I am going to throw you under the bus because I really love ending interviews inappropriately or doing things against the grain. What's your favourite Slipknot song?
I have a ton, but I'll say Purity. Purity off the first record is a personal favorite of mine, and a song the band really plays live, and I love it.
Yep.
It's not my personal favourite, but it has become in the last 6 months because my youngest daughter, it's her favourite Slipknot song, Duality, so every time we're in the car,
she wants to push her fingers into her eyes?
Well, I think, sort of, but she's showing a real passion to get involved in the industry.
Cool.
So that seems to be one of the songs that's driving her at the moment. So it's that and another pop punk band, bizarrely. But anyway, but yeah, probably that for me from right
Duality,
now.
Tim?
It's the same. My 8-year-old, it's on repeat rotation on Spotify in our car. Duality, massive fan. Goes
just
crazy.
Those opening lines, it's just, it brings everyone in. My brother back in the day got me in the Slipknot with Spit It Out, so I really hope they play it tonight. I've avoided the set list and spoilers and everything like that, and I'm going to get a 13-year-old Browny out there losing my mind. Boys, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for everything you've done for the community, for the heavy music scene in Australia, and let's hope we see Knotfest come back.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks,
Appreciate
Browny.
all the support.